are going to dive into genres today. I know that's a word in our learning intention that I said that we were going to circle back around to, but we already touched on it a little bit when we did our library lesson and we talked about the different kinds of books that you might like to read. So it says, we will practice the characteristics of good readers by exploring different genres. Our genre of the day today is going to be fiction. Say that back to me. Fiction, you got it. What do you remember about fiction from kindergarten? Fiction means fake. Very good. When a book is made up and it has fake characters in it and it's not real, we call it fiction. Okay? So one of our success criteria says I can understand the difference between fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. So if fiction is fake, nonfiction is not fake. That's where you learn that true information about something. It gives you facts. It helps your brain grow smarter by teaching you information. But again, today's genre is going to be fiction, which is fake. And if you think back to Library Mouse, this was a great example of fiction because I could tell it was a made-up story. Okay? Fiction has two different kinds inside of that genre. It can be realistic fiction or it could be fantasy. So again, think back to kindergarten. What would you say about Library Mouse? Is it more realistic fiction or fantasy fiction? If you said fantasy, kiss your brain. Just like fiction is fake, fantasy is super fake. There were talking mice doing crazy things in this story. That is super fake. That makes it fantasy. When I say the word realistic, it sounds like it has the part real in it. So even though fiction is fake, sometimes stories can seem real even if they're not real. That's the story that we're going to read today called Mr. Sticky Paws. Okay? And hopefully we can find out more about the characteristics of fiction through Mr. Sticky Paws. So I'm going to pull that up for us. Oh! But I guess before I do, we're going to go through these fiction characteristics real quick. So it says in fiction stories, we are going to find out about characters. Thumbs up, thumbs down if you remember that word from last year. Could you tell me what characters are? I did say a little bit about characters already when I was talking about Library Mouse. I said that the talking mice were the characters and they were super fake. So characters are who is in the story. So I think I'm going to draw a little picture clue over here of like a stick person or like a stick animal. Cat is pretty easy for Mrs. Peterson to draw, so I'll draw a cat. To remind my brain that characters are the actors in the story, the people or animals that are kind of doing all the things that happen. They act it out. So we have characters in fiction stories. This says setting. Do you remember what a setting is from kindergarten? You're right. A setting is where the story happens or takes place. So the characters have to be somewhere, right? They don't just float in the middle of nothingness, in the middle of a white screen. There's a background to this story. So in Library Mouse, the setting would have been the library. But in Mr. Sticky Paws, the story we're going to read next, the setting is not going to be a library. So we'll need to figure out where the story happens. But to remind myself, I'm going to draw like a little house with some grass under it to say I need to look for who is in the story and I need to look for where the story happens because both of those things are characteristics of fiction, right? Uh-oh. This word says problem. Show me your face when you have a problem. Yeah. It says, what do the characters need to do? Usually in a story, something is happening. They're acting things out, and maybe something will go wrong, or it'll make the character frustrated. So for my picture clue there, I'm going to draw some kind of sad face. When I taught first grade last time, we used to talk as the problem might be something that rains on your parade. So I put like a storm cloud. Whatever happens in the story to make it feel frustrating or like you need to fix something, because the characters might not always be sad about their challenge, but something is definitely going to need helping and solving and fixing. So we call that the storm cloud. And then the solution is, how do the characters solve the problem? So to go from feeling sad to happy, what do they do? Okay? Or to go from it being stormy and grumpy to being sunny and solved. All right? So these are going to be our picture clues about what we look for in Mr. Sticky Paws today. So we're going to hop into that realistic story. And again, because it's realistic, our characters are going to look more like real life. So even the story is made up, I can see people doing things that people normally do. So it looks like here they're eating some kind of breakfast. Let's be on the lookout for character, setting, problem, and solution. Said, "Yum," said Tex. "I love it when we have waffles for Sunday brunch." "Me too," said Indy. "Could you please pass the maple syrup?" So right away, I heard some character names. I heard Tex saying, "Yum." And then "Me too," said Indy. So if I look here at the picture, maybe this is Tex and this is Indy. And it looks like they're a family, and I heard they're having Sunday brunch. "Oh, sure," said Tex, but as he passed the pitcher, it slipped out of his hands. Can you see that happening in this story? Where do you think that pitcher is going to go? Let's go back up. "Uh-oh," said Indy. "This mess is going to be hard to clean up." "Don't worry," said Arizona. "It's not that hard to clean syrup off the floor." "It's not the floor," said Tex. "Look at Cow." Cow must be the name of their cat. Can you see how Cow is covered in syrup? And I heard another character name talking. I heard Arizona, which must be their older sister. So we have Tex, Indy, Arizona, and now we've met Cow. Are you thinking about character setting, problem, and solution? Because it seems like we might be at one of those parts in the story. "My goodness, Mr. Sticky Paws," said Mom. "It looks as if somebody needs a bath." And if I know anything about cats, I don't really think cats like getting baths. So maybe this might be part of the problem in the story. Let's find out. After brunch, everybody lent a hand. Cow did not like baths. He was very happy when it was all over. Hopefully you can see Cow's face in the tub here, and all the people helping give him a bath. "Oh, you look so fluffy and beautiful," Indy said, giving a nice scratch behind the ears. "How would you like to come to school tomorrow for show and tell?" Miss Atwood, can you imagine friends bringing in a real cat for show and tell? Nah, that doesn't seem like such a good idea. Maybe this is, again, a fiction story, so it's all made up. scampered away and hid in the recycling basket. Well, I guess that answers that, said Dad. I think somebody's had enough excitement for quite some time. There we go, Miss Atwood. So that's Cal's answer to going to school for show and tell tomorrow. Cal said, no way, Jose. I'm hiding in the recycling basket. I'm not going to school with you. Oh, what a silly story. So let's pop back and remember the 4 things that we were looking for. Starting with characters. Who was this story about? Can you list the names of the people? There was Mom, Dad, Arizona, Indy, Tex, and Cal. And Cal wasn't the person. Cal was the cat. You got it. So who is this story about? Mom, Dad, Arizona, Indy, Tex, and Cal. Great job. Where does this story take place? Thinking about the setting. All of it happened in a specific spot. Can you think back to where they were in the story? Look at the background. You're right. It seems like they were in a kitchen since they were eating breakfast. I can be specific about that. And some of it happened in the bathroom because that's where they had to go to give Cal a bath. So Mom, Dad, Arizona, Indy, Tex, and Cal started by eating breakfast in the kitchen, but then Cal had to get a bath in the bathroom. What was the problem in this story? What went wrong, or what did the characters need to do? Yeah, Cal got covered in syrup because Tex dropped it on the floor. So I could write that part too. Let's go back and make sure we remember that part of the story. Here he was dropping it on the floor. And look at that face, right? There's that uh-oh face. And then here, Cal's making the uh-oh face. And Tex looks really sorry. He noticed that something is going wrong. This would definitely be the problem. Because it was easy to clean syrup off the floor, but it wasn't going to be so easy to clean up Mr. Sticky Paws with syrup all over himself. So, how did the characters solve this problem? Cal being covered in syrup. What did they do? You're right. They gave Cal a bath. Easy enough, right? So when we read other fiction stories, we're going to continue to look for characters, setting, problem, and solution. But to show me that you learned something today and watch this lesson, you're going to have a job on Seesaw that specifically focuses on the characters. It says character illustration. Students can choose one character from the story and create an illustration that demonstrates the full sense of his or her selected character. They can add details from their imagination about what the character likes and doesn't like and how he or she dresses. Because it was kind of a short story, I want you to think outside of the story. So you're going to pick a character that we met, but then you're going to kind of do a little bit more with that character. So it says click add response, use the drawing tools to illustrate a character from the story, record your voice telling the details about your character, such as their name and what you included in your picture, and then click the check mark when you are done. So if I make this bigger for you, this is what you're going to see pop up. Pick a character to draw from Mr. Sticky Paws. Okay? That means that you could choose Mom, Dad, Arizona, Indy, Tex, or Cal. Those were all of our characters. Okay? But you're not just going to draw the character, right? You're going to think bigger than that. We want to turn that character into maybe someone or something that we might meet in real life. So if you chose to draw Indy, right, you could think about Indy's character from the story. What do you think Indy likes to do? What do you think Indy likes to wear? Maybe you could add some extra things that you think would go with what happens with Indy in the story. So you're not just drawing Indy, you're drawing a little bit more from your imagination, almost like you're the illustrator and the author of the book. If you drew Cow, because you like cats, you would think, what else do I know about cats? How could I make Cow a little bit more real in this story? And draw some extra. And then it says, record your character's name and talk about what you drew. That way I understand what's in your picture. So you might say, I drew Cow, and he, and then talk about all the cool things you added. Or I drew Indy, and tell me more about what I would see in your picture. Okay? You guys did an awesome job. We'll be back with a new fiction story tomorrow.